Hi, everyone. My name is Eniola Abioye. I am a user researcher and have been for about 10 years now. I'm currently at Meta with Sal, and I'm also the founder of UX Outloud. And when Julie first asked me or told me about Collab and asked me what I've been thinking about, insight rediscovery is the first thing that came to mind, because it's the one thing that I would really change across our industry if I could wave my magic wand right now. And maybe we can wave our magic wand in this room over the next 2 days. And so everyone in this room knows that as researchers, we work really hard to gain perspectives from our users to inform our product creation and optimize those products. And so if we want to move the needle on how insight discovery works at our organizations, we have to use the same human-centered design principles that we employ in our work every day. We have to see our insights as our core product and our stakeholders, our leaders, as our users. So depending on your organization right now, all of us share our research findings a little bit differently. And then we store them, create decks, create notes, maybe put it in Slack channels, and we invite people to go and see what we found and engage with what we've created. But so many of us are still seeing the same problem. Researchers are a bottleneck to re-accessing and re-engaging with insights. So when I joined Meta 3 years ago, one of the first things that my manager at the time told me is that knowledge doesn't move through research decks or recordings or readouts alone. It moves through people. And so that's absolutely been my experience and the experience of so many of the IC researchers that I've talked to over the course of my career. And it doesn't matter how beautiful or streamlined our decks are, most of us still get those messages and those calendar invites from our product partners asking, hey, do we have something that speaks to this? Or do you have research that supports this product decision we just made? And so the more that I think about it, though, the more that makes sense, right? Because our current approach as an industry is building out these decks, going and storing them, and telling our product partners where they are, and inviting them to go and interact with the insights, to read them, to feel them. But that caters to our own mental model, because our mental model is literature review. Like, we're comfortable with going and finding what's on the web or what's in our research libraries. And some of us even like to do it. But that's not necessarily the mental model of our product partners. They don't typically engage with information or digest information in that way. And we as researchers have fallen into the trap of designing a product that works for us and not necessarily one that works for our users. And looking into this data, it means that the way that we're sharing and storing that information isn't working like it should. And with any other product in our world, when something is not working like it should, or not being used as we intend it to be used, or not delivering the value that we intend it to deliver, we don't ask the users to do things differently. Or we don't ask the users to change or just be better at blank. We shift the product. So that's what we have to do. This problem is often framed as a lack of access to insights, and that's not really the issue. Most organizations don't have an issue with telling people where the information is or finding some place to store it, right? We all have spreadsheets, documents, repositories, but we're having trouble driving insight re-engagement. So the act of actually digesting those existing insights and applying them to our current work streams. So how do we shift? It makes sense that we need to change the way that we deliver this knowledge. Let's go back to the basics and let's look at the way that we learn in the first place, okay? When it's time to gather new insights, we immerse ourselves in our users' world to understand their systems and the context around their interactions with our products, even if it's only for an hour via Zoom or if it's taking a flight over to Brazil or Indonesia. And we make room for ourselves to touch and feel and experience and see what it is that they're dealing with and the emotions that come along with those product experiences. And then we distill those insights, those fruitful conversations, into slides that we then expect our product partners to empathize with in the same way. And then we come to conferences and complain that empathy is not distributed. But it's no wonder, really, because as researchers, it's not that we're more empathetic, it's not that we're better people, but we just spend so much of our role humanizing users. We look them in the eye. We create space for them to share vulnerably with us. Okay? And so that's a core element of our role. And in order to translate that empathy to our partners, we have to allow them to do something similar. As we know with translation, when we translate anything from one language to another, something is always lost in that translation. So the same is true when we translate this user feedback into insights. And to minimize what's lost in that translation process, we have to share contextual learnings as immersively as we can. Okay? So we're going to go back to the basics and understand that we don't need our partners to memorize quotes or bullet points that summarize our research learnings, but we need them to immerse themselves in frameworks that teach them how to apply these perspectives and then use them to structure products that deliver as much value as possible. So we connect the dots from insights to work streams alongside our product partners rather than inviting them to do it themselves. Okay? So one way that I've done this is by standardizing how I build these frameworks to contextualize our user behaviors, our needs, and business goals to drive product prioritization. And then I workshop those things alongside my product strategists so that we can create actionable next steps together. And so by inviting partners into this messy middle of what our insights mean for our business and what to do with them, two things happen. One, they're way more bought into research, into the process, into what we're going to do following these learnings. And two, they've come to expect that research is a hands-on process for them too, right? Instead of just, here, I want to know this thing, can you get it to me in 5 days? I call this process flow as a whole an understand sprint. So similar to design sprints, understand sprints bring us together to hear learnings, data analyses, observe research, and digest them together as a group. And that's the most important part, the digesting and making sense of the insights as a group. Because for the most part, this is the hardest thing for our product partners to do. And so the best part is we don't have to design these understand sprints from scratch. We really already have the framework from our design sprints. First, we empathize. So as a group, we discuss the shared experiences that have been shared and really understand the systems that exist around the product engagement that we're studying. So we share stories, we can share clips, quotations, and then we define the problem or opportunity space cross-functionally. So we think about things like opportunity sizing, end capacity, metrics that matter most, existing design pillars. And then finally, we align on the priority problem with work streams that help us get to what our organizational objectives are. Okay? Now, I realize understand sprints take time, but they root our partners more deeply in our insights, and they help to download the key principles that we should take from the body of work and guide them into applying the next steps. And then when new projects come up that draw on those same principles, the point is that it's easier to organize and find that work because it's rooted in frameworks that we understand together as a team. Okay? And then most importantly, since we've invited our partners to be hands-on with research, they feel more comfortable and they have more ownership around going out and re-engaging with those insights over and over again, because they're not some obscure thing that they need a researcher's permission to even read or understand, but they trust their own ability to engage with these insights now. That's one of the answers for insight rediscovery and for solving the problem that so many of us are dealing with right now. I don't have all the answers, but Meg Kane has another answer, including what works and what doesn't work, so I'll pass it off to her.